Back in 1999, many of us who played games, mainly those under the Nintendo banner, couldn't have predicted there would be a fighting game where we would be able to settle the score of who was the best character of all, whether it be Mario, Link, or even Samus or Pikachu. But a commercial featuring 4 people in Nintendo character costumes, one of which is Mario making Yoshi trip over? They then proceed to beat each other up, with the song Happy Together by the Turtles playing in the background. This sold many on the concept of a 4-player fighting game the likes of which wasn't really seen before. Originally developed without the famous Nintendo characters in mind, Super Smash Bros. On the Nintendo 64 was successful enough to the point of developing a series of sequels: Super Smash Bros. Melee on the GameCube in 2001/2002, Super Smash Bros. Brawl on the Wii in 2008, and Super Smash Bros. For 3DS and Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, those are the titles, in 2014. Each of them had some differences, some very noticeable, others not necessarily as much, with the most noticeable being the increasing rosters of characters, stages, modes, customization and overall madness, to the point where one wonders if a contemporary entry of the franchise can be topped. Enter Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, released on the Nintendo Switch in December 2018. The long journey of one smashing match after another began on its first day of release, which was a hot Melbourne, Australia summer day. It's time to bear this torch against the cold of the night and hope that light will guide us on our way to the ultimate fight. Those of you who have played the previous Super Smash Bros. Games should settle into this game fairly quickly, much like riding a bike. For those of you who haven't played the games before or need a quick reminder, here's a brief explanation. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is a fighting game that thankfully features no blood and gore, where you choose a character, choose a stage, customize what kind of match you want, such as timed matches or last one left standing, and fight. The series is different to that of other fighting games that generally feature health bars and generally a complicated series of button presses. The objective is to increase an opponent's percentage of damage to the point where they'll be launched off the stage with no hope of making it back. Each character can move, jump, dodge, grab and shield themselves, as well as use a standard attack and 4 special moves unique, mostly, to that character. Add to that items, stage hazards and more, which can be customizable. More on that later. The first point to properly analyse here is the presentation. For the most part, the visuals seem like a minor improvement over that of the Wii U game, the first Smash Bros. Game in HD, which is not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, this game does look beautiful and colourful. The animation is similar to before, noticeable in characters like Mario, but it's still good. Some of the texturing work feels like an improvement, such as that of the Nintendog, who still wants to block the screen. Go away! Considering one of the main draws of this particular entry in the series is the return of so many stages from old games, including the first game on the Nintendo 64, the stages have been given more detail, but the basic geometry, platforms and design of them are generally well retained. Some graphical details are still lacking, including what is supposedly the legendary Pokemon Moltres flying above Saffron City. Is that meant to be Nintendo 64 graphics somehow? One of the best graphical details that may not be noticeable at first is how the look and background of the stage changes when certain things happen, namely the final smashes and assist trophies. For example, a blue swirl appears when time slows down, or a mathematical grid appears when the numbers from the Brain Academy series merge into bombs. Through all of this, the game runs very smoothly, even on handheld mode. Goodbye 3DS version? The graphics aren't the only thing that contributes to the Nintendo history, it's also the extensive catalogue of music tracks and sound effects. First of all, the sound effects that generally consist of fighting sounds and the grunts and cries of each different character match everything that happens, and mixed together add to the chaotic fighting. However, it does that to the point where, on the default sound settings that is, it tends to drown out the music. And what a shame! The number of tracks that pay tribute to the many games of the past is seemingly endless, whether they are taken straight from the game or remixed. Some of the remixes and omissions may be questionable to any one person, but then again, the music you can listen to is customizable. You can choose the song to play before the match starts. Want to play a track from Super Mario Odyssey on a Paper Mario stage, like I did? Go ahead. Want to just let a track be chosen at random with a frequency being dictated by you? There's that. Want to make a playlist of tracks that makes the Switch your own iTunes app, Nintendo history style? Well, if you're into video game music like I am, then yeah, sure. What's also important to note that Ultimate, much like its predecessors, has its own original music, especially its main theme, which is Lifelight, a song that is beautifully sung.
Colors weave into a spire of flame, distant sparks call to a past still unnamed. Bear this torch against the cold of the night.
melody of it carries over to the basic battlefield/final destination stages, and of course the menu. You will surely get it stuck in your head before you finish customizing your first match. When playing your first match, you will notice how chaotic and fun the basic gameplay can be, or notice similarities and differences if you played a previous Smash Bros. Game. First of all, let's look at the speed and controls. One of the key differences that has been scrutinized with each passing installment is the speed, with Melee being considered the fastest, and quite possibly ideal for competitive/tournament play, and Brawl being the slowest. Wii U occupied a middle ground between the two, and suffice to say this one seems to as well, except it's slightly faster, which may not be that noticeable. The controls generally consist of using the control stick to move, A for standard attacks, B for special attacks, which can be altered with the direction of the control stick, the shoulder buttons for dodging, grabbing, shielding, etc. The good thing about the controls is that the button layout is completely customizable and can be saved. You don't have to use the A button for standard attacks if you want. The game is playable with the Joy-Cons, Pro Controller, and even the GameCube controller if you have the adapter that was only made generally for the Wii U game. Speaking of scrutinizing the game, while the game seems simple on the surface in contrast to other fighting games, the ways of mastering the mechanics to the best effect can make or break the potential victory or defeat, especially in competitive play. It is important to make every button press, every attack, every jump, every dodge, and so on count. If you slow down the game, especially in training mode, you will most likely be able to get a combo of 20 with Young Link's sword by mashing the attack button. This shows how important it is to read about the techniques in the help menu, whether it be pressing the button at the right time to stop hitting the wall or ceiling back and forth like a pinball. Looking at this, it is possible to wonder if this game is not necessarily a casual affair, regardless of the simple objectives and simple movesets at your fingertips. There are many characters to choose from, with more being unlockable, more on that later, and each one is fairly different to each other. It depends on your playing style. Do you favour Peach's recovery or Fox's speed? As well as for characters, there are over 100 stages to choose from. Each of them has obstacles and hazards, or just move around to keep you on your toes. You can turn off stuff like that if you want. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is a game best played with other people, and with many characters, stages and options, you will be playing for a long time. There is still plenty to do solo, though it seems like the AI has been beefed up, or is smarter. They can attack, block and dodge to the point of leaving you tired, bemused or frustrated. They seem a bit challenging even on a lower tier difficulty level, but the difficulty level you choose is generally fair. If you want challenge here, you'll get it, so you'll really have to practice the gameplay mechanics as well as see what characters, stages or options fit your playing style. It's up to you. You can have up to 8 participants in a match. There are a variety of items such as bombs, swords or even new ones such as an item with a healing radius. These will lead to a lot of chaos. Hang on, what is happening? Where am I? The fact that there is challenge in getting rewards or even obtaining unlockable characters means there is plenty to discover.